Hey guys, welcome to our review of Red One. That's right, the holiday Dwayne Johnson The Rock film in which The Rock plays The Rock again. As you can see here, we were joined by Jay. As soon as Alex came back, Joe decided to take a vacation.
I'm the filler.
He already had it planned. He's in Colombia, so that should be fun. Hopefully he has a good time.
Hopefully he comes back.
I think she strategically planned that, though.
Yeah, you got me on this one.
Gotcha.
Got me on this one.
Hey, since you watched a good one with Heretic, now you got to watch whatever the hell this was.
It was so good.
So let me start by saying, how did this happen? How did this happen? Alex, before we walked into the theater, told me, hey, did you know that Dwayne Johnson got $50 million for his role in this film? And I looked at him like he was stupid. I said, what? No, absolutely not. I watched the film, came out of it, and I looked up the report myself. Apparently that's true. According to reports, one of his biggest paychecks ever, and this budget is absolutely out of control. The budget on this film, Jay, is $250 million.
So $200 million.
Yeah.
Yeah, because 50 is already gone.
Well, yeah, for The Rock, right? And even then, that's way too much. So my first question is, what the hell? What is Amazon doing? What is MGM doing? Because as you can tell, so here I actually the first 15 to 20 minutes actually had some energy for me. When I saw this trailer, I'm like, oh, this is ridiculous. This is just gonna be schlock.
Yeah.
It's we got snowman in a fucking beach. We got The Rock and a polar bear. This is and he's like pumping up Hot Wheels and driving them around. This is gonna be ridiculous. But who knows? Maybe it could have that heart. Let me let everybody know. I like Christmas movies.
Yeah.
They make me feel good. There's this holiday cheer. It's really hard to fuck up a Christmas movie. And what we had here, and I heard it was bad. I think even IGN gave it a low score, something like 3 out of 10. I'm like, holy shit. If IGN gives it a 3, what the fuck does that really mean? So I came in with low expectations, right? Well, this movie sucks. And when I was watching it, the first 15 to 20 minutes, I was actually in it. It had good energy. I'm like, wait a minute. Are critics wrong? Am I going to get yelled at for telling everybody I like this film? Because I genuinely did like that first 20 minutes. The idea of this world and, kind of, it's got this, spy thriller / military, efficiency about it. I just love J.K. Simmons. He's a great actor. So as Santa Claus, I'm like, yeah, I buy that. I buy this kind of buff Santa in shape and stuff. And this mystical world, right? Unfortunately, after those 20 minutes, it just loses steam and it gets boring and it gets tropey and it just loses the plot. And I think the biggest sin is it takes itself way too serious.
Yes.
It doesn't lean into all of the satire, the parody, the jokes. They have a fucking polar bear in tactical gear, armor, and they don't really do much with it.
It's hard to animate.
And it makes me upset because if they had leaned into those funny and the satire and stuff, it would have been great. Instead, The Rock is just doing this. Sector 5, Sector 6 is out. Check the red one. Check red one. The whole film. And yeah, every once in a while he does his pearly whites to try to make people feel good about the Christmas message. Unfortunately, the tone all off. And essentially that Christmas magic that even Netflix films have had, Kurt Russell, Santa Claus. Mm-hmm. I love those. They got energy. The good message make me feel good. This one didn't make me feel good. And maybe like 5 minutes at the end, but like it's not worth $250 million. That would have been amazing to give to Neil Blomkamp for Halo. We can't even get a fucking good Halo adaptation. None of these good video game stuff, but yet we get $250 million for something like this. And it's not a Christmas classic. In my opinion, it's not one that we're going to be like, hey, throw that on. You know what I mean? It's not one of those. So that's my opinion. Let's hear from the boys. Who wants to go first?
I didn't think it was very good, but I did agree with you that I think that the first, 15, 20 minutes was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
They introduce, Chris's character, and he's exactly what he needs to be. And I was sitting there thinking, it's like, wow, I'm actually surprised. I actually may enjoy for a shitty Christmas movie.
Yeah.
Like, and like,
I was like, I'm ready for
Last
another
Action
classic.
Hero is a shitty movie that I like. It's like, so I was thinking that this is not going to be fine cinema, but I can still enjoy a bad movie where a guy that looks like a human thumb, because The Rock looks like a thumb. Like, it is, like, every time I look at him, it's like, dude, he looks like the things from Spy Kids, you know, the thumb guy. Like, that's what he looks like this whole time. But then that spirals out of control. We started doing, like, wild, weird stuff, and I was getting like bad Hellboy vibes where there's a secret world thing, and they did some practical costumes and stuff, which I really liked.
Yeah.
But the scenes were bad and the dialogue was bad, and so it's like there's parts that I like here, then there's things that I don't like. It's produced by the Rock's guys. It is written by the Rock's guys.
$7 Productions.
Yeah,
It's
and
huge.
so they have all the same rules where he can never really get beat up. It's always written by committee for the dumbest people on earth, and so it's a dumb fucking movie, and it had potential, and I'm actually more mad that I was sitting there going, hey, maybe this ain't so fucking bad, and then it turned into...
You're waiting for it to get better.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
He shit the bed.
Okay,
Okay.
yeah.
That makes sense.
What'd you think, Jay? Did you think that the beginning had a good momentum?
Actually, I thought there's good parts. There's good parts sprinkled throughout the whole movie.
Yeah.
But there were so many bad parts in between those good parts.
Right.
It was like it's so many highs, so many lows. I was like, okay, let's get on to the next part. We're done with the Hallmark Christmas movie feelings, getting to know our feelings and stuff, you know. Let's get back onto the action and beating up the Grampus or whatever. Like you guys said, I was waiting throughout the movie for a good part.
Yeah.
It's like all this lows and these crappy parts, and then I wanted a good part. I get a little taste of it, and I'm like, okay, here it goes.
Takes
it goes back,
a while.
And then it goes back down to a crappy part, you know.
It's
It's like,
that-
oh my gosh, up and down. It's like,
It's the unfulfilled potential.
Yes.
I think that the world is there. The look is there.
Yeah.
The elements are there. They have this mythical, what do they call it? Mora or something? Mythical order
Restoration
organization,
Yeah,
whatever.
yeah.
And saying that, yes, all of these mythical things are true. You know, the headless horsemen and vampires and Halloween and Christmas. It's all true. But they keep it, separate from the real world.
Right.
And I was like, wow, the potential here. And you see little peaks here and there, the potential. You see these little elves. But then they're not elves, and the Rock's is the head of an organization, ELF, and then everybody's wearing ELF. Well, are they elves or are they not? And there's real elves walking around, So there's just like so much potential, and it's very imaginative. But the script and the story don't live up to that potential.
What's crazy is that it's kind of written
scenarios.
It's written for them, right? Like the Men in Black movies worked really well because it's the same kind of thing. Fish out of water, established dude, world behind the world.
Yes, Chris Evans is a fish out of water.
And then we do this thing and we go along. And then it's like, we have like the Dresden Files where there's like a secret world, fantasy world, hidden Hellboy. All of these things work. And if this is the worst interpretation of that world behind worlds that I've seen in some time. And it's like all you had to do was copy these movies and have like little interesting things, because like at the beginning of the movie, even in the trailers, you see the headless horseman and you're like, cool, what are we gonna do? It's like, we interviewed that guy in the back room. It's like, can I see that, please?
2 seconds.
That's
2 seconds.
what I
You
want
get
to
to see
watch.
it.
Let's go that way.
Instead, we got a garbage action set piece in Aruba, and it's like I wanted nothing.
Uninspired.
And so it's like
like,
there's interesting stuff here. There's totally cool things that we could have done, and instead they directed and wrote this movie. It's like, okay, we have to be in this city, then in this city, then in this city, in this city, because we paid money for those sets. It's like, is the story going to make sense to bounce through them? No.
Who is this for, Alex? Because it doesn't seem written for children. There's a lot. I'm surprised at the amount of times they said shit and fuck. Well, I guess they didn't say fuck, but they were saying shit.
A lot of ass cheeks. A lot of ass cheeks.
Like ass cheeks and things. Just like, so it's like, is this is not one of those feel good Hollywood movies that, like, you know, kids can put, like, you could put on for your kids in the background while they're watching Pixar, and then this one comes in rotation. So it's almost for like older adults. But then, you know, like the set pieces don't work. It's a buddy action film with Chris Evans and Dwayne Johnson, and they just don't have any chemistry. The Rock almost feels like he's in his own film, just doing the Rock things.
They probably had to film his part separately because he wouldn't show up to set on time.
But yeah, and so I think that, you know, as a buddy cop film, it's not very fun. It's not very funny. There's a few parts that made the audience chuckle, but we were kind of quiet. And we're almost sympathy laughs at this point, because there's times where the film does have the heart in a good place, but that's free. That's by default. It's a Christmas holiday movie, so you're gonna get a lot of that cheer for free. Mm-hmm. But, you know, I don't know. And as a kids movie, I don't think it's friendly enough or silly enough, or even kids-oriented enough to keep them interested.
Kids
so
should
it
be
fails
watching
as a kids movie. It fails as an adult tactical action film. I'm not really sure. I guess what they wanted is this universe where they can make their own Fast and Furious or their own DCEU, so that they can. And that's a good example. It's DCEU and not the MCU, because it's failing. You know, and they have all these characters, and it's like, oh, well, that would be cool as a spinoff or that or that. Maybe that's Amazon's goal here, is they want to eventually do a bunch of spin-offs with Krampus, who frankly is one of the better characters.
I was going to say that whole world thing, they could have done so much with that. It's so cool, just trying to that whole setup,
crazy costumes.
Yeah,
really
crazy,
good stuff.
awesome costumes.
Yeah.
But what I'm thinking, they're trying. It kept on reminding me of Jingle All the Way.
Don't you fucking dare!
They wanted.
Don't you fucking dare, Jay! Listen, I was about to bring that up, and Jay brought it up in a different way.
They wanted to capture that magic, and because it was an action Christmas movie, they totally blew it.
Thank you, Jay.
Because that's my top. That's my top Christmas movie.
Jay, really?
Yeah, it is.
Fuck yeah, dude.
Taste,
we
man.
just bonded.
What?
We just became best friends.
What's
Jay.
wrong with you?
I like the movie. Me cry because it's like like tied to my father.
Sinbad
is like
is the best.
Sinbad is funny as hell in it. It is put that cookie down, you know. And Phil Hartman is the best. So Jingle All the Way is mine, and I recognize it's not a good movie.
No,
it's one of those. What do you call it?
Guilty pleasure.
Guilty pleasures.
Yeah,
it's one of those guilty pleasures. That movie has charm. That movie has action.
Right.
That movie's entertaining the whole way through. It knows what it wants to be. This film is tonally wrong. The pacing's all off. The CGI is really bad in some green screen sections. You can tell they're fighting on a green screen. It looks pretty. But then, puzzlingly, there's some good practical effects and some good costumes. And so it's like there's a few people on this team that are talented, but they're not in the right spots. You know what I mean? So I don't know. This apparently was written by the Jumanji people that did the Jumanji vehicle for The Rock.
Did they also do the It's the Rampage people too, right?
I don't know. I have to look that up. I just know the Jumanji. That's probably what they want people to focus on. Hey, man, that's their success. They don't want to talk about their other stuff. But there's just I guess you can throw it on in the background. This feels like a Netflix film. It's an Amazon film, and I actually looked it up. It was supposed to come out as, you know, just this Amazon, you know, exclusive. But let me see if I can find it.
What's exactly like Red Notice, where they spent I think Red Notice cost more money, but they gave The Rock like $40 million for that movie, and that movie was terrible.
Yeah.
Man, The Rock's agent is amazing.
He must
the
have
guy
pictures.
is making buku money,
his
he
name
doesn't
is carrying
really
on,
deserve it. He's been in what? He's been in nothing but flops. So The Rock needed a success. And I guarantee you, this is not going to, well,
It's
I
not
don't know
going to change
about mass
anything. It's not going to change anything, though.
The estimates are 30 to 35 million opening weekend based on like ticket pre-sales, and that's not always accurate. But that means that this movie is going to lose a ton. But then they'll put it on Prime, and maybe
once it goes global, it'll make its money back. Hopefully.
Maybe you think so?
Yeah. That's where most of the market is.
Yeah.
The irony is it was originally supposed to debut as a straight-to-streaming release for Prime Video.
Yeah.
Exposed. However,
See?
however, the trade publication noted that MGM or Amazon/MGM Studios opted for a wide theatrical release after it did well in test screenings with audiences.
No, see,
that changed their mind.
That's where they're gaslighting you. So they know it didn't do well, so they had to go out to the theater to get some money back.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Well,
Maybe.
I mean, when they're interviewing people for test audiences, they're like, "Hey, do you like the dumbest things?"
Yeah.
They go,
Yeah.
They're like, "Get that guy in here."
Let's get 4 people in here.
To be fair, audiences are usually 2 to 3 points above critics, and so critics right now are hovering at 33% rotten on Rotten Tomatoes.
Oh, wow.
So I estimate that audiences could make, with the Christmas cheer and all this stuff, I'm going to make a prediction. I'm going to say 80%, 70 to 80%, and it makes me disappointed.
But they release this a month early.
I know.
That's another
the
really
thing. Yeah.
awkward thing.
That's the
Why
thing.
November? If you release this in December, I think a lot of people are like, all right,
It's a Christmas
man,
movie.
We gotta go see a
Christmas,
Christmas movie.
let's go.
Yeah.
But when we're not quite there yet, we're not even in Thanksgiving, and you
Yeah.
watch this, you're
It's the Christmas creep.
yeah,
always creeping towards
people
summer.
are kind of annoyed with the Christmas creep, and
yeah.
then they'll probably not give the film the benefit of the doubt. Yeah, I mean, this article thinks that the Red One sequel is unlikely just based upon the projections that it's doing now. Where
Does it still say about 30, 35?
Well, some people are predicting that it was 30 to 35, but it can earn as little as 25 million, or debut was which is with as much as 40 million. So that's on the high end, but still, that's probably not enough.
But
Yeah.
how much would it make if they went straight to streaming?
That's another thing.
You
So
know?
I think Amazon loves to burn money, and they just look at it as an excuse to sell more Amazon Prime subscriptions, and so that you could buy more products. That's how they were able to justify the Rings of Power. But back to the film, I think The Rock is just once again that stoic personality that doesn't really, the whole film kind of, sucks the air out of it. It's supposed to be a comedy, but it's just not funny enough. And
Yeah. We've seen some of the buddy cop ones. I think like Batista would have done a far better job here because like he can be the straight guy, the tough guy,
and more charming.
But towards the end, like he can do the thing where he kind of softens up a little bit, and then you're like, oh, okay, now I'm endeared to this guy. The silly guy became a little serious, and vice versa. And there was just none of that here. Yeah. So
there, yeah. There was a message towards the beginning of the film that I was into, that they were noticing, The Rock is like, I see the Christmas cheer amongst children. That's still there. But it's more the adults that are kind of losing their way and becoming more cynical and thieves and doing bad shit and being way more on the naughty list. The naughty list has grown by times 4 or whatever over the years. And I thought, okay, and I'm like, oh yeah, I kind of agree with that. And he's kind of losing faith. That's really interesting to me.
Yeah.
They didn't go anywhere with it.
No.
They didn't do anything. By the end of the film, it's just like, hey, what happened, Dave? But what about the thing that you said that
We
the
saw
world,
one bad guy.
Yeah, the world's
one naughty
kind of
guy.
turning to shit. Did everybody just kind of reverse course? No, the world is still shit.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
in our small little thing, we succeeded in our little mission. Cool.
the dad got back with his son. That one guy is still imprisoned in his car. He will
Yeah.
live there
Yeah.
forever.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
hold on. No spoilers or anything.
The dad and the son. It's a Christmas movie. It's not like, oh, the kid died.
Yeah. So I just think that it unfortunately is a misfire. I think you would be better served rewatching Jingle All the Way, Arthur Christmas, a number of Christmas movies that I can think
Die
of.
Hard.
A Christmas Story
Die
for
Hard,
the
of course,
17th
yeah.
time.
1, 2,
Die
3, 4,
Hard.
5, 6, 7.
These are way better. Do not go and waste your money more than $17 and taking your family and spending $80-something on this. It doesn't deserve it. The Rock doesn't deserve it. I don't know how he keeps cranking in these paychecks for this wooden stoic acting that he just plays himself. You know, everybody gives the short comedian
Kevin
Hart shit for being Kevin Hart in every film. The Rock
But he's
is the
funny.
same way. I don't really even think he's funny, Kevin Hart.
I've done some of his specials. I found, yeah.
Specials, yeah, maybe, but I don't know. The movies,
Yeah,
he's playing it. Yeah, all right. Anyways, so hundreds of millions of dollars wasted, in our opinion. Downvote the video if you think, oh, you guys don't like nothing, even though I've just given you a list of things that we like.
Yeah.
That's criticism, you know. Let me make clear, I wanted to like this film. There are some fun ideas here, and I think Jay was touching on them too. Here and there are parts that you can have fun with. I would say the Krampus part, the beginning, this idea that toys can be made into real objects that really doesn't go beyond one or two things.
Well, yeah, because
they should have done more with that.
They went through the toy store and grabbed a whole bunch of stuff. I was like, okay, what are you
Oh
going to do
shit,
with
that's
it?
right. And they never
What are you
used
gonna
any of
do?
it. And it was
Yeah.
interesting. He's like grabbing Monopoly,
Yeah.
and he's grabbing
I was like, what are you gonna do with that?
robot
You know?
things. He does use the robot
Yeah,
things,
yeah,
but
yeah.
other than that, I wanted him to use more of that.
The Slinky, he
gadget
grabbed a
stuff.
Slinky.
Yeah, so it fails as a James Bond spy thriller. It fails at a military movie. It fails at a child's movie. But it has a few little bits and pieces here, and goddamn, you better for a $250 million. The thing is, it never comes together as a whole and has that, coherent message that makes you feel good. I think I caught Jay rolling his eyes during the Chris Evans speech.
Oh, yeah.
I knew you were, but I was like, you know what? Okay, I think it's well said. I actually liked the Rock speech at first when he was talking about, more the adults being the problem these days than the kids. But yeah, the message there, it just doesn't resonate. I think it's a misfire. So let's go. If you have more to say, go ahead.
Well, and that's the thing. I don't need a message in this movie.
Right.
That's why I was rolling my eyes. Just give me the action and it's okay. Happy holiday cheer. That's fine.
Yes, you do, Jay.
I don't need a message.
You like the message. The message, like in Jingle All the Way, because there's a message there.
Well, yeah, because it was
it's
about
like
the dad doing stuff to try to,
the
for his
bond
kid.
of father
But that's
and
totally
son.
different. That's
Yeah,
not,
you're right, but
that's
that
not
is
me
a
giving
message.
Paris piece of gourd, to my son about how we should be friends again.
I think it was just a poorly done message.
Yeah,
a poorly executed message that just didn't resonate.
Well, it does just in order to resonate, it's got to earn it, right? You can't just have an emotional thing out of nowhere with no context, and it kind of felt out of context.
Yeah.
Because originally, like you said, the message is almost something a little bit different, where it's like the adults have fallen out of the spirit of Christmas, and then it devolves into something else, and then all of a sudden, it's now
it
about
takes a right turn.
Yeah, it's
like,
about this
now kids don't believe in Christmas.
Yeah, it's about this other thing, and it just yes, it's if you watch it, you're like, oh, that can be touching. That can be something that makes me think of my dad or wanting to be a better person. The problem is, like, you build up to these moments, and when there is no build up, it's flat, and that's the whole last half of this movie was just flat because they built nothing.
And it was too many messages.
Yes, there was a lot.
There's like a lot of different messages.
It turned into preachiness a little bit. So that's I think
Yeah.
where you can cross the line. It has to be done very well because people don't like to be preached to, and I totally understand that. I don't like it either. So it has to be done in a really genuine way and an entertaining way. And when you're already knocked out of the film and you're like, this is dumb, and then they slap that on top of there, you're like, this is extra dumb.
Well, then it also opens up this giant plot hole where the whole movie doesn't work because of this plot hole, and it's just it's stupid.
Okay, well, we got to talk about that plot hole because there's multiple that I can.
Yeah,
bring
well,
up, so I don't know which one you're.
One of
talking
them is the most important thing of the whole movie. Go. What's your final verdict?
Oh, so final verdict. Because of the aesthetics and some of the costuming and the scenery and the sets that they had.
Yeah, they got those right.
I would go a 6 out of 10.
Above average.
Oh, he doesn't know, so I should have let
5 is an average.
So 5 is average, then
right.
6 slightly above average, 4 slightly below average, and then up and down from there.
Yeah, I think that there were some parts that I really did like. I like the introduction of Chris's character. I mean, I'm a sucker for the costumes, the practical effects when they are used. But as far as like a Christmas movie, if I have to rate this amongst all of them, I think that this is probably slightly below average for me. I can't even. This is not the kind of one where there's individual good scenes where I'd even want to put it on the background, because you're like hanging out, you're not paying attention, and then you focus on the TV when something amazing happens. I'm not going to look towards the TV when the snowmen are fighting, or when we have a touching moment in the car, or another touching moment in the sled, or a touching moment in a
right.
thing.
None of that.
It's just like none of that.
There's no breakout scene.
Yeah, so there's not enough stuff, and then I don't think that CG is of quality, because this was supposed to be a streaming movie where I'm like, I have to watch this. So for me, I think I'm going to give it a 4. I don't think it's horrible. It's much better than I thought it was going to be, because I thought I was going to hate this movie, and I do think that there are parts that had it rise above where I thought it was going to be.
Okay,
but I'm giving it a 4.
Yeah, and I think it does remind me of Arthur Christmas, because it has that lore of Santa Claus and his operation and how it actually works. And that's when I think the film is at its strongest, when it's J.K. Simmons and it's the operation of how Christmas works. And he's just fun to listen to. And you get this feeling of hope around him. Unfortunately, he's gone the whole film. Because he gets kidnapped. That's the whole mission, right? It's The Rock has to come to the rescue, and he gets the fish out of water, Chris Evans, and they go on their thing. So I've just seen this story executed much, much better. And but I do think that first sequence is good, and so I was probably going to give it a 3. And I think because of the starting sequence and because of the practical effects, because I agree with Jay there that it does have some moments here and there. And I would say maybe one that you can keep on the background is the Krampus stuff.
Yeah.
I do like the Krampus stuff. But I do think the ending is kind of disappointing. Well, okay, so I'm wavering. I'm gonna go below. It's below average. It's definitely below average.
Fucking Scrooge.
I'm gonna go with 4 out of 10. So the same exact score. Well, fuck you.
I am a
3
Scrooge.
out of 10.
I am a Scrooge.
No, I'm gonna go 4
I'm
out
the
of 10.
Scrooge giving geese to people, though.
This to me,
Or the chickens.
I think if it was on streaming, and if it was an Amazon release and it came where you didn't have to fight the movie crowds and spend overpriced on all their bullshit, and then the tickets are ridiculous. If it just came out on Netflix or Amazon Video, nearer to Christmas, it would get a little bit. It would be graded on a curve. But me having to deal with all that shit, it's like 3-4. I'll end on a 4 for Christmas. Yeah. Hey, don't say I never did anything for you. The Christmas spirit and cheer gives it graded on a curve. I also wanted to talk about Lucy Liu. Like, a lot of people Lucy Liu, but me, I'm going to be honest. I've never liked Lucy Liu's acting. She's so wooden. I just don't buy anything with Lucy Liu here. And she's like,
it's a small part.
It is super small.
It is, yeah.
But I mean, if you consider, just like J.K. Simmons, that's a small part.
Well, they couldn't afford anybody else other than The Rock. They're like, hey, I'll be in this movie, but I'm only going to be in it for 10 minutes because he's got all the money.
And unfortunately, The Rock
that's all they could pay for.
The Rock was kind of the worst part, and he's in it the most, and it's the most boring to watch. Just one guy going about his work day, essentially. And so I'm gonna go 4 out of 10, and then we're gonna actually jump into the spoiler section here if you want to save some money or avoid it and get some of these spoilers. So,
you know how it ends. It's a Christmas movie. The kid doesn't die and Santa gets saved.
Yeah. Pretty much.
Pretty much. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching. Let's go into the spoiler section next. Hey, welcome to the spoiler section.
I would have given it 3 full points if they had done the thing where, like, Santa dies and the kid, and, like...
Well, see, now that you guys are saying that, you make me feel like I love the movie.
No,
when I say 6,
Well, I mean, so
You
do
know?
you think it's an average movie, or do you
That's
think
okay.
it's slightly
No,
above
he
average?
didn't know our rating
well, that's
system.
I would say
Because
I would say average.
Okay.
That would be a
would-
5.
A 5. Okay.
Yeah.
On our scale, that would be a 5. So go ahead, Alex. Tell us, what was this all about?
This movie is about, there's kind of like a piece of shit, but he's the greatest bounty hunter of all time, and he's on the dark web, and he's broke all the time because he's a gambling addict, and he's estranged from his son, and he gets a mission to track somebody, and for evil people on the dark web, and what they actually wanted is they wanted to track down where Santa Claus was, and so he successfully gives them that information, which of course gets Santa kidnapped, and then The Rock has to come and find him, and then they work together to get Santa back, and then they go through this whole hidden world, and he has to get back together with his son, and then we find out that it's all due to the Christmas witch.
Yep.
Yeah, so here's where baked in extra points for me. I didn't know nothing about Grilla or something. You whisper her name and she can hear you from ever. And I'm like, oh shit, man, you talking about Krampus? It's like, no, this ain't Krampus. This is something different. This is a Christmas witch. So it's a monstrous entity who lives in the wilderness of Iceland. The name Grilla first attested to medieval sources. However, unambiguous references to her gender and her association on Christmas only starts from around the 17th century. So she was always like scaring children before that, and then she started to get associated with Christmas. She's represented as a hideous and greedy ogress who wanders between human settlements and demands charity from those she encounters, often asking from it from naughty children. So I had never known her, and I thought this was interesting, unique, different. Is the villain particularly good? No, I would. I like the Krampus character that's here, and he's associated with. Apparently, they were in a relationship. That funny part, it's his ex.
Yeah, his
and
ex,
he's like, yeah, we used to punish people, but I don't do that life no more. But boy, was she big and bodacious, and boy, I like, she's like, he's waxing poetic about her, and I like that part. But her and her children, typical movie villains, wasn't very effective.
Totally forgettable. And then her whole thing is she's going to make copies of this snow globe, and the snow globe is a solitary confinement for all naughty children. But all you have to do is repent your sins, and then it immediately break it. And so if I go, you've been naughty, Joe, and I throw him in a solitary confinement, within 24 hours he'd be like, man, I really wish I hadn't been so naughty. And then it would
sorry.
And then so this whole thing about imprisoning almost half of the world because they've been naughty means nothing.
That's the plot hole.
Nothing works because the
hole.
first 2 people she throws in prison, like towards the end of the movie, is she kidnaps Chris Evans' son, and then Chris Evans goes in to save his son, and all he has to do is like, I should have been a better father to you, and then it breaks both of their snow globes, and they get out.
And then the guy with the Porsche, got the ticket, and he's like, oh, screw your ticket and stuff, and then
He's
he
being
goes
an
away.
asshole.
Where'd he go?
He's dead.
Right.
Is he dead?
The
I
globe,
hope so.
she wants to collect all the evil people, and there's millions and millions of evil people. And she's like, oh, my collection will begin with you two. And I was like, but the Porsche guy, there should be a ball over on the rack.
It didn't return.
It
That was
didn't
a return.
return.
So like he's stuck in the Porsche.
In the Porsche.
In the ball in the Porsche.
Okay,
Yeah.
so
Okay.
that guy is
All
still fucked.
He's just dead. He's gonna die.
Let's say it needed you to explain this to me because it didn't
Yeah.
explain it in the movie.
Yeah. What else? Okay, so there's a secret organization, the ELF, that helps Santa. There's a whole city in the North Pole. It is protected by a bubble shield that is also refractive, so you can't tell it's there. It's stealth. And but a secret organization controlled by Grilla and her sons breaks into it using an atomic subparticle disassembler and breaks it. And then they go in and they steal Santa. And of course, The Rock has to do his what do you call it? Skyscraper thing where he
runs on the top of a
he's
building.
outrunning a fucking snowmobile and sliding down things, just silliness, which is fine.
Yeah, it's fine.
It's just, but and so they get away and they fly off on a plane, but it was all a ruse because they really needed the power of the city itself. No, it was kind of confused because you need Santa's power to power this machine that was used in the 1800s to help children with presents that duplicates stuff, but they had to do it in the city. No, I don't see why it has to be in the city, because I guess the city is power and Santa is power.
That's where all the machines were, because like
but they didn't need all the machines. They just needed one machine, that old machine. So for whatever reason, it's not some old shack in the middle of I don't know, the Russian tundra. It is the same city that they're in.
It's the original Santa's workshop,
Right.
and that's they said it's the only place where they could possibly create that many duplicates in one time.
Which I don't buy, because you could take that machine and move it.
Yeah.
But unless it was also the magic of the city or whatever. But clearly they were siphoning J.K. Simmons' magic and power into the machine, and that's how they were duplicating these snow globes. And then she was planning to be like Santa and basically do an operation where she goes down every single chute. She's not trained for that, so I'm not sure how she was going to get to every single house to give every single child an adult a snow globe so that they can all perish, or not perish, just join her collection and be punished. Because maybe, Alex, she doesn't want to kill everybody, and maybe she just wants to punish them. And maybe if they do repent, she'll be like, all right, well, good, you repented.
I mean,
you served your punishment.
She said that if you had ever lied at jaywalking the rocks, like that's virtually every human being on Earth. So she wanted to imprison virtually every human being on Earth.
Yeah.
Except for
just
they would
punish them. She just wants to punish them.
They all would have gotten out immediately.
There
That's
wasn't
her
a lot
kink.
of room. I saw like 2 racks.
It was. It was 2
It's
racks.
gonna-
That fill up pretty
fill
quick.
up quick, you know.
Okay, so you have that organization, and The Rock is the commander. And what's his name? Just inconsequential. Something Slade.
Something Drift. right?
Drift.
Yeah.
Slade.
Cade Drift.
Yeah. Chad Chaddington.
Might as well just fucking call him Dwayne Johnson.
Yeah.
Just fucking The Rock, you know.
D-Wayne.
And he is gonna retire. And J.K. Simmons, you know, has been his right-hand man, and they feel like they're a well-oiled machine. So he's like, why? Just tell me why before you hand in your papers, sir. But this is all stuff I like, though. I was liking the movie at this point. And then he was like, you know, and he's like, we bring happiness to children everywhere. The Rock, why would you do this? And he's like, well, I do like the children, you know, because it's got written in his contract. He's a good guy. You can never lose. But he eventually says it's not the children, it's the adults. And earlier in a scene where J.K. Simmons just wants to go out to one of the Philadelphia's malls, and he's interacting with the people as the real Santa. They don't know he's the real Santa. Then they go behind the scenes, sir, and they have this police escort and shit, which we'll get to in a second. But he sees a lot of adults stealing stuff. And
Well, all the grown-ups are assholes, and it's because they're in Philly. Like, those people threw rocks at Santa and ice balls at Santa Claus for real.
Batteries.
Yeah, it's like... Ugh.
Okay, so then he turns in his papers, and he's like, oh, and Santa kind of gives a little bit of a retort where it's like, it's deep down inside, they've lost their way, and that's all the more reason that we need to be here for those people to eventually come back. So that's the message. It's a good message, and I thought they, would play more with that, with, showing scenes of, people who are thieves or kind of, changing their ways. But nobody does that, really. In fact, the main thief of the film, Chris Evans' character, never really learns to stop doing a lot of that stuff. He just doesn't do it to his son anymore. And so as long as he's nice to his son, then he can steal candy from a baby.
Like gazebos on fire.
Yeah. Like gazebos on fire. Trip police officers and give them head injuries.
Well, throw the dogs at them.
Right.
Yeah. It's like...
So it's a little confused in that, but and I wish there was more done there. But I like the message, and I'm like, okay, I get it. Go ahead.
I think a major thing that I really didn't like about this is I think that the Men in Black thing works really well when it is a total secret. And that's not a secret at all. Like, the military knows Santa is real. Every world government knows Santa is real. He's got police detail. So it's like only like the average parent and kids don't know.
Are the ones that,
and then
in the dark,
yeah, and so it's like they're like, oh, everyone knows, and that's the one thing Lucy Liu has to go do. She goes notifies every country on Earth that there may not be a Christmas, and then like there's the United Nations has to be let know, and it's like, well, that kind of takes away some of the magic. And there's kind of like you worry because this secret is important in those other films, and this is not important at all because everyone already knows.
Yeah.
So it's like I think they did.
Well, the military knows, or people of stature know, and that sucks. You're right.
Yeah.
So like your standard Raptor pilots would know because they're literally escorting Santa.
Yeah.
And I was like, I like that. That's a cool visual because some people say, hey, NORAD is tracking Santa, and the U.S. is sending Raptor jets, to escort him. So it's cool to see, but when you think about it harder, you're like, no, because then the traffic controller's like, yeah, yesterday I escorted Santa. Oh, shut up, Dad. But no, it's for real. He really did. So, yeah.
Yeah, and then towards the end, we get to the point where Santa's kidnapped, and they have very little clues to go on, and so they go visit Santa's brother Krampus, and so he's in his own little bubble. He's locked away there. There's a truce. He's like he stays in his bubble, and then no one does anything. And it's really interesting. It's a cool world. Yeah. It's a cool set. There's all these like goat men and demons and hellhounds.
Drive into the middle of a cemetery to get to his lair and stuff like that. I thought that was really.
There were hellhounds too.
Yeah,
yeah.
And he had
the chicken.
You had to use a chicken on a keychain to. Her name was Elaine.
Mm-hmm.
Elaine the chicken. He's like, distract him, and then he lets the chicken go. But man, if that chicken gets caught, you just lost Elaine. You're dead.
Yeah, but she is his rubber chicken.
But she did survive because once they got out of the situation, which we'll get into here in a second, she joins them as they run out of the castle. So she survives. But once we get into the castle, Jay, what happens here? Like originally they're gonna capture. Or what? No, it's fucking Chris Evans steals gold, so they get imprisoned.
So they find out that he's there because he stole some of the offerings, the gold offerings, and him and The Rock get captured, and then they go into the big meeting hall or whatever, and they meet Krampus finally, and then finally
everybody's drinking, having a good time.
I want to hang out there. That sounds great. He said it's Krampus knocked every night. It's like
yeah. It look super fun, You'd want to be in a setting like that.
Yeah, they're
right?
drinking meat out of a horn.
Right.
Like, let's go. I want to hang out.
Big horn. It's like
And what were they playing there?
Well, they were playing
Krampus slop.
What was it?
I think it's called Krampus slop.
Krampus slap.
It's
Everything
just
had
a
a
slap.
German kind of take to it.
Yeah.
So they're playing the slapping game, which
Oh,
is
yeah,
made
that's
popular by the Russians, or I don't know. There's a slapping competition that's funny that I know people.
It's
cover
really
on
good for the
YouTube.
brain.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's good. So he's just slapping fools, and like everybody has no chance against this muscled, demonic-looking
demigod.
creature, demigod. But they come up, they're like, you're gonna stay here with me, Chad, Slade, Drift, The Rock, and Chris Evans does the good thing. He's like, you can tell everybody about it, you can run. And that's when we figure out that Chris is a good person.
He's a thief with a heart
Jack
of gold.
is his name. He's a thief, and he
The
doesn't
turn.
leave him behind.
Yeah.
And he comes up with some clever things, and like bumps into somebody and takes their stuff, takes the gauntlet that The Rock's been using the whole time that gives him extra strength, and he wagers that he's like, oh yeah, The Rock was boasting that he can beat you in this slap fight. And The Rock's like, what are you doing?
Yeah.
And so we do get to see, I guess The Rock is like, yeah, now that it's in public with my, contract that I can never lose any fights, he has to, put a clause in there. Okay, you can slap my ass silly.
The one
and I can
disappointing
fly.
But he
thing
loses the
about
round,
that,
not the match.
Yeah, the one thing disappointing thing about that was it was a slap fight. It's like, how come they just like duke it out? How come they couldn't just fight?
Actually, like MMA fight?
Yeah,
that would have been more entertaining
exactly.
and fun. I think it's because it was just a popular thing on YouTube or something, and maybe they're
trying to
tapping
meme that,
into what's popular now. Is this slap fighting? Yeah, that would have been cool. Like cage fight, like in Spider-Man.
Yeah,
like,
something like that.
Buzzsaw is ready. Something like that. But yeah, no, they went with something. I guess because they thought it might be funnier and do the slap fight. So eventually, The Rock slaps him with the glove that Chris Evans puts on at the last second, and then slaps the shit out of Krampus. And that creates enough chaos where they are able to just punch everybody.
He makes The Rock
He
him
pops
stop
the
him.
robots up.
Yep.
So that was the other time he used. So what are all the things they used? They used robots, a Corvette.
two cars, a truck.
a C8, which I liked, and a truck.
Yes, big
But
old
that counts
Silverado.
as the same thing. So you got Rock'em Sock'em, Chicken, and Car.
Yeah. All the other.
What happened to Monopoly?
Yeah, all the other
What
10
happened
toys that he grabbed.
to all those other really cool toys that he never fucking used? The whole film, reoccurring joke. Jack wants to buy a toy of Wonder Woman.
Wonder Woman, yeah.
It didn't make me laugh the first time I saw it, but it was kind of lessened because I think that joke was in the trailer. So... And that's a crossover. MCU, Captain America wants to get down with DC's Wonder Woman.
Well, The Rock is she's Black Adam, and so
Black Adam. That's right.
Yeah, it's a whole crossover. It was real
Okay,
good.
so once they find out, they're like, wait a minute, the only place they can make this many globes is the North Pole. That's the only place they can do it. And so he calls into headquarters. They answer, and he's like, And it's been lip serviced that these are shapeshifters they're fighting.
Right.
And so he calls in, and it's the Mrs. Claus, which I don't know. This lady didn't feel like Mrs. Claus to me. I wish there was a more, different Claus that feels more like Mrs. Claus. I guess this is just a younger version of Mrs. Claus. And she answers, and she's like, yeah, I'm baking him cookies. It's all I can do. I can't stop thinking about him. He's like, what kind of cookies did you bake? And she's like, macaroons. And he's like, okay, he's going to love that. He ends the call. That's a shapeshifter. Yeah. Santa Claus hates macaroons.
Why actually,
Sparky barky,
you said
Mom?
it just like he did.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's basically
it's
the same.
exactly the same way he did it.
That's The Rock. He got no emotion. He's got, a few dials, and that's about it.
Mm-hmm.
But did you notice also that Santa Claus hates Chinese cookies? What a fucking asshole.
Yeah.
He took a Chinese cookie.
Well, I think they
then he
had
put the
macaroons
cookie
in it.
back.
That was a macaroon.
That was a macaroon?
That's
Okay. I
Yeah.
thought he flew to France?
No, so there's macaron, which are made out of, they're like meringue cookies, and then there are macaroons, which are coconut.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
And so
Which one is other Joe always going on about?
The
'Cause
French
he loves
ones.
them.
Yeah.
Does he love macaroons?
He enjoys them, yeah,
Like
because
that
it's a
French
chocolate coconut. He actually likes it quite a bit.
So he likes both macaroons and macarons.
Yes.
I didn't know there was a difference.
I keep track of what
macaron.
kind of cookies do you like? Because I keep track of what everyone likes and doesn't like.
I like
Macaroon,
double
macaron.
chocolate chip.
cookies,
Yeah.
caramel
Chicharron.
cookies,
Yeah.
crispy.
I like chicharron.
No. Cakey.
Cakey, yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Cakey, but not chewy.
Oh, chewy. Yeah. Definitely not crispy. Not hard, not hard.
Macaroon. Okay. Anyways, so they figure out they're all shapeshifters. Apparently, all these people had previously captured these people one by one and replaced them with shapeshifters in order to help facilitate her stealing the sleigh. Which, by the way, the sleigh was pretty cool.
Yeah.
Traditionally in all these movies, they make the sleigh very small and have, the bag on it. And it's just a magical bag that will pop a bunch of presents. In this one, the sleigh is bigger, and I like that.
Mm-hmm.
And the fucking reindeer are fucking huge, and they're massive, and they're powerful. In
And they're
fact,
apparently all women.
and they're all women. Yeah, where's Rudolph? God damn
I
it,
know.
I
I wanted Rudolph. Come on.
Yeah.
At least one Rudolph.
They don't live forever.
Okay, well, Rudolph's dead. Is that what you're
What?
saying?
Yeah.
What?
Damn.
No,
Why you
Reindeer
gotta bring
sounds
the mood
like-
down?
it got to be in one more.
Yeah. So, anyways, they
Randolph.
antlers glow when they go into hyperspeed, and they actually use the in the final battle. They use the reindeer to battle the boss because the boss is pretty big. The ogress, she goes into the ogress, but they do have this creative thing where it's not a bag, it's a barrel, and then the barrel spits out tiny toys. And throughout the whole film, this Rock is doing this really bad CGI thing where he clicks his boots together and he turns into the size of an elf. So I guess that's where the elf lore comes from, that they're little people.
Tiny, yeah.
And then he gets big and small and big and small. And these fight scenes, they're hilarious. They look awful. But yeah, so they do that to the presents. Then they make the presents big, and then Santa goes small and big to get in there. But they never addressed that he can't do it that fast. There's been other, explanations of Santa lore how he can do it that fast.
Yeah.
There's one where it's almost like time stands still and he can do it all and then time begins again. I like that one the best. Or he's just so goddamn fast and magical, and they've depicted that where it goes, but this, no. He does like one, maybe 3 houses. They do clips between the different cities, and I'm like, well, you're already out
I
of
like
time.
the aircraft. They had a flying aircraft carrier thing. I mean, it's a
That was
giant.
cool.
It's like the Avengers
lore.
floating aircraft, and it's actually that thing holds all of the hoppers for all. I mean, it's thousands of these giant barrels holding all these things. That explains like where all the toys come from.
Yeah.
But the witch didn't have that if she was going to deliver 6 billion globes.
Yeah, she just put them all in her sleigh.
Krampus's sleigh was pretty cool.
Yeah.
that was.
It
That was
seemed-
He
really
had like
neat.
a singing asshole sleigh.
Yeah.
And that can fire fireballs.
Fireballs,
and
yeah.
so in the final battle, as she's collecting all of these globes that she's going to distribute amongst people, and she starts to fly, both The Rock and Jack manage to run and get on the sleigh. And it's actually Jack that saves the day by getting thrown by this ogress who is huge. They try to take her on physically when she's a beautiful blonde, tiny little girl. Which, by the way, I liked her witch look. When she, her eyes glowed, I was like, that's a badass looking chick.
Yeah.
That's a boss ass chick. But so they try to attack her because she's small, but then she's like easily leaves them because she's like a shapeshifter, so she's very strong. She throws Chris Evans and he falls in the reindeer, and then he does the impossible where he's holding onto a chain from the first rung, lets it go, grabs the second rung, lets it go, grabs the sleigh. I'm like, dude, you would have been trampled.
It's a Christmas miracle.
Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Anyways, he's the one that kicks off the reindeer, which
The
frees the reindeer.
one and only point of contact between the reindeer and
You
the
would
sleigh.
think that shit
That's
would be
it.
stronger
Just
than
one
just
thing.
be able to kick it.
That's
so he kicks it off, and it doesn't fly. She gets pissed. Or no, she falls off the bridge.
Right.
Transforms, and The Rock was knocked out this whole time. What was
He's
The Rock
trying to
doing?
free Santa Claus during this.
Yeah,
whole
yeah,
time.
Oh, right. Okay. So he's freeing Santa Claus. And then she comes up over the bridge as this big thing. And it's like, okay, let's have our fight. And The Rock's like, I'm not going anywhere. And he's having his rock scene, in
And there's
his
no
own
one else in the
mind.
North Pole, even though it's a huge city filled with tens of thousands of people who live
That
there.
had
and it's your
multiple agents and
security
multiple
teams
walls and multiple
There's an
security
aircraft
teams.
carrier. They could have dropped a barrel on her.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
but
That would have been way cooler.
Yeah, instead Krampus shows up and he lights her on fire a little bit.
That's
Which
so
was kinda
ultimately, The Rock is getting his ass kicked, and the part that we did like is Krampus does show up, fires a few fireballs from his sleigh, because this is in this movie Santa's brother. So that's interesting. I don't know if that's the way it is in the lore of Krampus.
I've never
but
I've never heard that.
I like it because they have this, kind of hatred, but yet brotherly love for each other.
Yeah.
And even Krampus is like, Merry Christmas to his brother, like, I did this for you,
Yeah.
and that kind of stuff. So I like that. Good message. Krampus goes over there to B. He's like, y'all don't know how to speak to women, especially not a real woman like this. And she's gross looking, but he's into it. So he runs over there, but he gets his ass kicked. And
likes
it's
it.
ultimately who that takes care? It was the reindeer. So Santa screams out the word that he uses to launch the reindeer into hyperspeed, and all the reindeer come back, boom, 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 hit her, and
Knock her into the snow globes.
and because she breaks the snow globes, I guess the magic of the snow globes turn her into a snow globe.
All she has to do is say that she's sorry, and then she immediately gets back out.
Yeah. Well, that's true.
Yeah, well, since it's his ex, he can start dating her again, and everything's fine. So this whole, I don't think there's any consequences, Alex, in the mythical world. You just have to say you're sorry, and then everybody's cool with it.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, the Headless Horseman was in jail, so they imprisoned the horse in one place. His body is in Area 32, and they put his head in cryo-freeze.
Cryo-freeze,
So,
yeah.
like, there's definitely prison and consequences in this world.
So when she says sorry, Alex, and she breaks out, they'll imprison her again.
Yeah.
That would
In 3 different
put
places.
her in a real
Yeah.
a real prison. Then he has a moment. Krampus and Santa have a moment. Then he flies off, and he wants a rematch, the slap fight, because he got knocked the fuck out. And I would like to see a rematch and see, give The Rock the gauntlet and let Krampus just do his thing, and we'll see who actually wins.
Krampus kills him in the first hit.
Yeah, he did
Yeah.
say I could kill you in the first hit,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah.
And I believe him. All right, what else? Oh, and then the Christmas message, Alex. What was the Christmas message?
The Chris, Jack, and his son, Jack was staying away because he's like, look, I'm not a good father. I wanted to distance myself from my son because he's with his mom and stepdad, and they've got a really good thing going, and realized that was a mistake, and he needs to cultivate this relationship. And they build that together, and Santa's like, you guys can come with me and deliver presents.
Yeah. But the real irony of that was Jack was right. He was right to stay away. He was a big piece of shit, and he would have ruined their relationship, constantly disappointing his son if it weren't for this mythical world changing him. But without this mythical world, Jack was never going to go and self-reflect and be a good father to his son. So Jack was doing the right thing.
Yeah, he was.
Ultimately.
Ultimately, yeah.
But because this happened, now he can be a good father in addition to the stepfather, I guess.
Yeah. Until they brainwipe him because he can't know that Santa and all
this
whole world.
Everybody else knows. Remember, all the military people know. At least the pilots,
all
the air traffic.
Well, and everyone in every government organization knows. And the United Nations knows.
Right, because they let him fly around.
Yeah.
All right. Well,
a giant pile of wasted potential is ultimately what.
There's no after credit scene. I thought they were trying to set up this unique Christmas thing. Uverse. And Amazon is waiting to see how it does. There was some talks that maybe Krampus could have a spinoff, or there could be spinoffs, but they always talk like that, and maybe a sequel. But I don't think it's going to do well enough for that. It's already tracking lower than they want. Maybe they can get a return on investment once they put it back on streaming, and we'll see how it goes from there. But I think it's a one and done. And honestly, I think it's one of The Rock's worst performances or worst films. It's pretty boring, but it's helped by that Christmas merit.
I think
if the Christmas thing wasn't there, this would be the worst one.
I think Skyline is worse. I think Rampage is worse, but it's close. Like, this is pretty bad.
It's close. Okay, well, we also forgot at the beginning. As a kid, Jack reveals to other children that their parents just hide all the presents.
There is no Santa.
And there is no Santa.
So I thought that was going to be the message,
too.
that
was going to be the message, but it kind of gets lost in there. Yeah. It is there, and it gets resolved somewhat, but they needed to emphasize that.
Well, they can't do that because then if there is Santa in this world, the parents would all know that Santa is real. Like, they would know that Santa's real because if you went down the stairs and there was nine presents that you're looking over and you're like, where
the
hell?
fuck entered my house without my permission?
Yeah, it's like, okay, so everyone on Earth other than kids know that Santa.
Santa's
like,
real.
Okay, there you go.
Because he's like, yeah, these are the presents we bought, but Santa brings his own presents.
Yeah.
Which is it? I don't know.
Santa also gave Vampire Assassin 4 to a kid who's way too young for that. Now, I approve of young kids playing violent video games.
Sure.
But Santa should not be given to doing that.
Yeah.
That's a popular game this year.
Yeah.
All right. Well, I think we've covered it all, and we just watched this.
It didn't deserve 5
minutes.
It didn't deserve this level of coverage.
Yeah. This. An hour. My God. Okay. Well, thank you guys so much for watching, and it's more cathartic. For those of you who don't want to waste your money, we tried to give you your full bit there.
Yeah.
We cover everything. Yeah, I kept waiting for Jack Frost or hit something with Jack to be a thing, but that's
already been a movie.
Yeah.
There's been movies where like Jack Frost imprisons Santa and stuff, and it's like this is just a ripoff and a combination of scenes of better movies. It's like, how do we rip off Terminator 2? It's
Everybody.
Like shapeshifter phone call. It's like, okay, how do we rip off this movie? How do we rip off this movie?
That's kind of what it was. A kind of a generic, thing that you could just put on in the background. Definitely streaming material, and that's why it was that. All right, guys, that's going to be it for the Red One. Thank you. A colossal waste of money. And honestly, what's wrong with Hollywood? It's like, stop spending this kind of money on this kind of crap and start utilizing that money better on some real creative projects with directors and scripts that have real vision. All right. Thank you guys so much for watching, and we will see you guys on the next Angry Joe Show. Bye, guys.